Your Honor, I could buy this entire courthouse and everyone in it. That's what he said, standing in my courtroom, looking at me like I was some kind of servant he could replace with a phone call. I've been a judge for over 30 years. I'm Judge Frank Caprio, and this is Providence Municipal Court. I've seen every kind of person walk through those doors, rich, poor, young, old. I've heard every excuse, every lie, every sob story. But what I witnessed that Tuesday morning in February was something I'll never forget. The man standing before me was 34 years old. His name was Brendan Colfax. He wore a suit that probably cost more than most people make in 3 months. Navy blue, perfectly tailored, with cufflinks that caught the light every time he moved his wrists. His shoes were polished so bright I could see the ceiling lights reflecting off them. His hair was styled with some kind of product that made it look wet, but wasn't. He had that look. You know the one. The look that says the rules don't apply to me. Behind him stood 12 lawyers. I counted them. 12. They lined up like chess pieces, each one carrying a leather briefcase, each one wearing an expression that said they were ready for war. If you believe justice should be equal for everyone, you'll want to see what happens next. My bailiff, Officer Torres, called the case. His voice echoed through the courtroom like it always does on quiet mornings. Case 2026 TR 47821, the State versus Brendan Colfax. Charges include reckless driving, leaving the scene of an accident, and destruction of property. I looked down at my file. Then I looked at the other side of the courtroom. That's where I saw her, Maria Gutierrez, 52 years old. She stood there in a clean but faded jacket, the kind you wash 100 times because you can't afford to replace it. Her hands were rough, working hands. I could see calluses even from where I sat. She worked 3 jobs. The file told me that. House cleaner in the morning, kitchen assistant in the afternoon, night shift at a laundromat on weekends. She was in my courtroom because 3 weeks ago she was walking home from her second job. It was 7:30 in the evening. Dark outside, cold. She was crossing the street in a marked crosswalk on Benefit Street when a red Tesla Model S Plaid came around the corner, doing at least 60 in a 25-mile-per-hour zone. The car hit her. Not hard enough to kill her, thank God, but hard enough to throw her 6 feet, hard enough to break her left arm, hard enough to fracture 2 ribs and tear ligaments in her knee. The car didn't stop. She lay there on the cold pavement for 4 minutes before someone called 911. The driver was gone, but the Tesla had cameras everywhere. So did the buildings on that street. Within 2 hours, the police knew exactly who was driving. Brendan Colfax, founder and CEO of a tech company called Neuroflux. He made an app that tracks your brainwaves and sells the data to advertisers. He was worth about $2.3 billion. Maria couldn't work for 6 weeks. She lost all 3 jobs. Her medical bills were piling up, even with the basic insurance she had. Her daughter had to drop out of community college to help pay rent. That's who was standing in my courtroom that morning. I looked at Brendan. Mr. Colfax, good morning. He didn't respond. He was typing on his phone. One of his lawyers, a tall man with silver hair, leaned over and whispered something. Brendan looked up. Yeah, morning. He said it like I'd interrupted him. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice calm. Mr. Colfax, I need you to put the phone away. We're in court now. He looked at me, really looked at me. Then he smiled, not a friendly smile, a smile that said, "You're cute." He put the phone in his pocket, slowly. Thank you, I said. Now you've been charged with 3 serious offenses. You were driving at a dangerous speed. You struck a pedestrian in a crosswalk, and you left the scene without stopping. Do you understand the charges? One of the lawyers stepped forward. Your Honor, my name is Gregory Ashford, representing Mr. Colfax. We're prepared to dispute all charges. We have expert testimony regarding the lighting conditions, the pedestrian's position, and the vehicle's automated systems. I nodded. I'm sure you do. But I'd like to hear from Mr. Colfax himself. Sir, did you know you hit someone that night? Brendan shrugged. I felt a bump. Could have been anything. A pothole. Debris. I had a meeting. A bump. I looked at Maria. Her face didn't change. She just stared at the floor. Mr. Colfax, the police report says you were going 62 miles per hour in a 25 zone. The car drives itself, he said. Tesla's autopilot. It's smarter than most human drivers, probably smarter than most people in this room. Someone in the gallery gasped. I heard it. I leaned forward. Mr. Colfax, even with autopilot, you're responsible for that vehicle. You're supposed to pay attention. You're supposed to be ready to take control. He laughed. Actually laughed. Your Honor, with all respect, I don't think you understand the technology. This isn't 1985. The car has more computing power than the space shuttle. It makes better decisions than I ever could. But it didn't stop after hitting a person, I said. It probably didn't register it as a person, one of the lawyers said quickly. We have data logs showing. I held up my hand. Let Mr. Colfax speak, please. Brendan looked annoyed. Look, I'm sorry someone got hurt. I really am. But accidents happen. That's life. That's why we have insurance. I'm willing to settle this quickly. Whatever her medical bills are, I'll cover them. Throw in an extra $20,000 for her trouble. Can we move on? I took a breath. A long one. Ms. Gutierrez, do you have anything you'd like to say? Maria looked up. Her voice was quiet but steady. I just want to know why he didn't stop. I was lying there. I was scared. I thought I was going to die alone on that street. And he just drove away. Her voice cracked on the last word. Brendan rolled his eyes, actually rolled them. Your Honor, is this really necessary? The emotional theatrics? We're talking about a traffic incident. That's when I showed him the first piece of evidence. Mr. Colfax, I have the police report here. It includes surveillance footage from 3 different cameras. Would you like to see it? His lawyer started to object, but I'd already queued it up on the courtroom monitor. The video played, clear as day. You could see Maria in the crosswalk. You could see the red Tesla coming way too fast. You could see the impact. You could see her body hit the ground. And you could see the Tesla pause for about 2 seconds, brake lights on, then accelerate and drive away. The car stopped, I said. For 2 seconds, Mr. Colfax, that car stopped. You knew you hit something, and you chose to drive away. Brendan's face didn't change. I told you. I had a meeting, a very important meeting. I'm running a billion-dollar company. I make decisions that affect thousands of employees. I can't stop every time there's a bump in the road. The courtroom went completely silent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Mr. Colfax, that bump in the road was a human being. He sighed, like I was boring him. Your Honor, I think we're getting off track here. I've offered a very generous settlement. If she doesn't want to take it, that's her problem. But I have other things to do today. Sit down, Mr. Colfax. Excuse me? I said sit down. We're not finished. He looked at his lawyers. They nodded. He sat. But his face showed exactly what he thought of me. I pulled out the second piece of evidence. Mr. Colfax, after the accident, you didn't report it to the police. You didn't call 911, but you did make a phone call. At 7:42 p.m., you called your head of security. Do you remember that call? His lawyer stood up quickly. Your Honor, any calls made by my client are protected by... The police have a warrant for those records, I said. It's all legal. Mr. Ashford, you can sit down. I looked at Brendan. You want to tell the court what you said in that call? He said nothing. I'll tell them, I said. You told your head of security, and I'm quoting directly, I think I hit something on Benefit Street. Probably nothing. But if anyone asks, the car was in autopilot mode, and I was responding to an urgent email. Make sure the story is consistent. End quote. The gallery erupted. People started whispering. One person said, Oh my God. I banged my gavel once. Order. Brendan's face finally changed. Just a little. A crack in the mask. Your Honor, I was simply being cautious. My lawyers always tell me to document everything. You were creating a cover story, I said. You knew you hit someone. You knew it was serious. And instead of helping, instead of stopping, instead of doing the right thing, you called your security team to prepare a lie. That's not what happened. Then what did happen, Mr. Colfax? He stood up. His face was red now. What happened is I'm a very busy person. I have responsibilities. I have investors who depend on me. I have board meetings and product launches and decisions that affect the entire tech industry. I don't have time to stop every time some careless pedestrian walks into traffic. The room exploded. Maria started crying. Someone in the gallery shouted, "She was in the crosswalk." I banged the gavel 3 times. "Order! Everyone quiet!" But Brendan wasn't done. He pointed at Maria. "You want to know the truth? People like her are why we need self-driving cars. No offense, but she probably wasn't paying attention. She probably had headphones in. She probably stepped out without looking, and now she wants to blame me because she made a mistake." "Mr. Colfax," my voice was ice, "sit down." "No," he said, "I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being treated like a criminal because I'm successful. You know what? I've been way too nice. I don't owe her anything. I don't owe this court anything." He turned to his wall of lawyers. "How much does a municipal judge make? 100,000 a year? 150? One of the lawyers said quietly, "Sir, please don't." Brendan ignored him. He turned back to me. "Your Honor, I could buy this entire courthouse and everyone in it. I could pay your salary for the next 100 years and not even notice the money missing from my account. So maybe you should think very carefully about how you handle this case. Because I have friends, powerful friends, and if I make a few phone calls, you might find yourself looking for a new job." 10 seconds of silence. "I'm not exaggerating." I counted. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then the gallery erupted. People were shouting. Officer Torres had to stand up and yell for order. One of Brendan's lawyers actually put his head in his hands. I just stared at Brendan Colfax, this man who thought his money made him untouchable, this man who hurt someone and felt nothing, this man who just threatened a judge in open court. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from anger, pure anger. When the room finally quieted down, I spoke. "Mr. Colfax, in 30 years on this bench, I have never, and I mean never, heard anything like what just came out of your mouth. You stand in my courtroom, in a place built on the idea that every person has equal worth under the law, and you tell me you could buy me." I said his name slowly. "Brendan, look at me." He looked. "Do you see that woman over there? Her name is Maria Gutierrez. Do you know what Maria was doing the night you hit her?" He didn't answer. "She was walking home from her job cleaning offices downtown. She scrubs toilets, Brendan. She mops floors. She does it so her daughter can eat, so they can keep their apartment. She works 3 jobs, and she still barely makes it. And on that cold night in February, she was crossing the street legally, carefully, in a marked crosswalk, just trying to get home." I stood up. I don't usually stand during proceedings, but I stood. "You hit her with your $100,000 car. You broke her arm. You broke her ribs. You destroyed her knee. And then you drove away. You left her lying on the street like she was trash, like she didn't matter." My voice got louder. "And now you stand here and tell me she's the problem. You say people like her are why we need self-driving cars. Brendan, let me tell you something. People like you are why we need courts. People like you are why we need laws. Because without them, people like you would run over people like Maria every single day and never look back." I picked up the 3rd piece of evidence. "I have something else to show you, Brendan. After you hit Maria, you went to your meeting. Do you remember what that meeting was about?" He said nothing. "It was a party, a launch party for your new app update, open bar, DJ, the whole thing. And do you know what time you posted on social media that night?" I pulled up his social media account on the monitor. There he was, holding a champagne glass, smiling with a group of people. The timestamp read 9:47 p.m. 2 hours after you hit Maria, you were celebrating. You were drinking champagne and taking selfies while she was in the emergency room getting x-rays. I turned off the monitor. "Brendan Colfax, you asked me to think carefully about how I handle this case. You threatened my job. You tried to use your money and your power to intimidate me. So let me be very clear about something. I looked directly into his eyes. Your money means nothing in this courtroom. Your power means nothing in this courtroom. Your lawyers and your threats and your billion-dollar company mean absolutely nothing in this courtroom. In here, you're just a man who hurt someone and tried to run away. In here, you're equal to everyone else. And in here, you will be held accountable. The courtroom was dead silent. Here's what's going to happen, Brendan. You're going to listen to your sentence. You're not going to interrupt. You're not going to make calls. You're not going to threaten anyone. You're going to stand there and face the consequences of your actions. Do you understand? He nodded, barely. I sat back down and picked up my gavel. Brendan Colfax, I find you guilty on all charges. Here is your sentence. First, you will pay a fine of $250,000. That money will go directly to the city's pedestrian safety fund. It will be used to install better lighting and crosswalk signals in areas where people have been injured. Second, your driver's license is suspended for 2 years, not 1 day less. During that time, you will not operate any vehicle, including vehicles with autopilot. If you're caught driving, you'll face criminal charges. Third, you will complete 500 hours of community service. And here's how you'll do it. Every Saturday and Sunday for the next year, you will report to Providence Community Hospital. You will work in the emergency room, not as a doctor, not as an executive. You'll do whatever they need, cleaning, paperwork, helping transport patients. You'll wear scrubs like everyone else. You'll clock in and clock out like everyone else. And you'll do it under the supervision of the hospital administrator, who will report directly to this court every month. One of the lawyers tried to speak, but I kept going. Fourth, you will write a personal apology letter to Maria Gutierrez, handwritten, not typed, not dictated to an assistant. You will write it yourself, and it will be no less than 2 pages. You will read it out loud in this courtroom 2 weeks from today, and Maria will decide if she accepts it. Fifth, you will create and fund a victims assistance program for hit-and-run survivors. You will contribute $1 million initially, and then $50,000 every year for the next 10 years. This program will help people who've been hurt by drivers who ran away, just like you did. Sixth, you will participate in a public safety announcement. You'll work with the police department to create a video about the importance of stopping after an accident. That video will be shown in every high school in Rhode Island. Your face will be in it. Your name will be attached to it. You don't get to hide. Brendan's face had gone from red to white. And finally, Brendan, because you threatened this court, because you tried to use your wealth to intimidate a judge, I'm holding you in contempt. Officer Torres, take Mr. Colfax into custody. The bailiff moved forward. Brendan's eyes went wide. What? No. You can't. I can, I said, and I am. You'll spend the next 7 days in the county jail. When you're released, you'll have a review hearing where you'll demonstrate that you understand the seriousness of these charges. If you fail to comply with any part of this sentence, you'll serve an additional 30 days. Do you understand? Officer Torres put the handcuffs on Brendan's wrists. The sound of metal clicking shut echoed through the courtroom. All 12 lawyers started talking at once, but I banged my gavel. This court is adjourned. I stood up and walked to my chambers. My hands were still shaking. 6 months later, I got a letter. It was from Maria Gutierrez. She told me she'd received Brendan's apology. She said it seemed real. She said he'd actually looked her in the eye when he read it. She also told me she'd gotten a job with the victims assistance program he funded. She was helping other people who'd been hurt by reckless drivers. Her daughter was back in school. She thanked me for listening. She thanked me for caring. I kept that letter in my desk drawer, but I also kept the reports from the hospital. Brendan Colfax completed every single hour of his community service. The administrator said he worked hard. He didn't complain. He helped people. On his last day, he asked if he could do more hours, voluntarily. Maybe people can change. Maybe facing consequences actually means something. Or maybe he just learned to be more careful about who he threatens. Either way, Maria is okay. That's what matters. I sat alone in my courtroom that evening after everyone left. The lights were dim. It was quiet. I thought about Brendan standing there with his 12 lawyers, thinking his money could buy him anything. I thought about Maria with her calloused hands and her 3 jobs, just trying to survive. And I thought about the law. The law doesn't care how much money you have. It doesn't care about your power or your status or your Instagram followers. The law is supposed to be a great equalizer. It's supposed to say that when you hurt someone, you answer for it, rich or poor, famous or unknown. That's the job. That's why I wear this robe. Because if the law doesn't stand for everyone equally, then it doesn't stand for anyone at all. Justice isn't about money. It's not about power. It's about dignity, and no amount of wealth in the world can buy someone else's dignity, not in my courtroom.